Good evening. Welcome to my channel. My name is David Okun. Welcome to my YouTube channel. We are talking about the cost of living. The cost of living is created by income problem. Income problem means poverty. So if you are now suffering the cost of living crisis, you are suffering from it, it means you are a poor person. Because you see, across the globe, wherever you are, whatever you're trying to do, if you're a multimillionaire and multi-billionaire in US dollar, you don't suffer the cost of living as a crisis. You don't even feel it. Therefore, by evidence of the cost of living crisis, that is to say there is actually poverty in the world. And those who work for a living, whether you're a middle or lower class worker who work for somebody else, your paid salary, and if you are a small and medium businesses, then you are estimatedly poor because you are not a multimillionaire or not a multi-billionaire. If you work and for someone else and they pay you salary, but you are a multi-billionaire, it means you don't need to work. So you are classed as not poor, you are actually a rich person. So if you're a rich person, even if you work, for whatever reason you work, you are not classed as rich, and you are only 10 or 15% of the population. The rest of the population working for a living as of necessity are actually poor, and these are the ones who are victims of the cost of living crisis. And the cost of living crisis is fundamentally created by an economic system of capitalism. And capitalism became a problem when governments of the world, under the global economic system, under globalization, government of the world, capitalists of the world, decided to shut down the public sector. Whether in the continent of Africa, Europe, or Asia, America, whichever world you live in, you're practicing capitalism. It is a deliberate policy by the state to shut down the public sector, and that is what created the cost of living crisis. Fundamentally, and any crisis resulting in income problem is the result of failure of the public sector, which is actually not functioning now, given the private sector is not designed to provide public service. And I have been saying this, and I will be saying it over and over. Thank you for those who are watching this video, and thank you for subscribing. Thank you for leaving a comment below to discuss this issue. The reason also I'm talking about the cost of living, because it is a symptom of a deeper problem under capitalism, an extreme version of capitalism which should be moderated by the public sector intervening in the economy in favor of those who are not multi-millionaire or multi-billionaires, the vast majority of the population of the world. And these, to repeat the point, are the ones suffering the cost of living as a problem, as a crisis. And so it is upon us, the population of the world, to negotiate with the state to bring back the public sector, to provide the public service, in order for the government to increase the income of the population, or the majority of the population who are excluded now from the economic benefits, or including any growth in the economy created by capitalism, by the market system, by businesses. This growth are actually concentrated in the hands of the few at the expense of the poor being, or the majority being poor. And this is actually the outlook of what the cost of living crisis represents. So it is important because it's more than the cost of living as a crisis. It's more to do with the system which is going to go worse and worse, and people are going to be more and more excluded from the economy and wealth of the world. More and more people are going to be poor and poorer, and less people are going to have more and more money and wealth. And the cost of living crisis is just a sign. This is the point I will be repeating again and again and again. Right now, if you watch this video, watch it with the rest of the videos because they are connected. This is a continuation. I've been looking around different perspectives of the cost of living crisis, and I'm excited about the project. And I hope you also enjoy watching it. Even if you don't enjoy it, watch it anyway because it's important. If there's a problem, it's your responsibility to solve it. And if you learn about it, what is causing it, then it becomes clear for you to solve the problem. And it is your responsibility, it's your life. And we are humans, we can't just walk away and allow fate to decide our future, our existence. You value your life, learn what the cost of living means, and also what I'm talking about, what it means. And talk to me if you can. If not, then talk to somebody else. But this video is intended to highlight the problem of the cost of living, to explain exactly what is causing it. The media may tell you the main media may tell you one thing or another, but I'm inviting you to listen to me instead, that the cost of living is a policy problem. If the government changes policy now, next 6 months there will be no cost of living crisis. If the government reinstates the public sector to provide public services, including employment, because employment is a welfare economy. I mean, people work for a living, so to an investor it may be a business concept, but for ordinary people who are workers, it is their lifeline. If they don't work, they're going to die of poverty. And where they don't work because of lack of employment, there are no jobs. Where they don't work because of the condition of the poor condition of employment, including low pay, including limited rights during when you are sick, when long hours, unnecessarily long hours. You don't spend money, you don't spend time with your family. You're always working and you are sinking deeper and deeper into poverty. The cost of food, energy, and water, and the cost of public transport, housing, healthcare, and all these other basic necessities, which are now being privatized, is being treated as if it is business. You cannot do business with human life. By selling of things like water, energy, you are actually selling people into slavery, to sell them and not really value them, treat them as if they are property, like they are your slave. You don't care about them, and any government doing that is a non-caring government, and they are not fit to be in power. Unfortunately, the people in power now are not really fit to be in power, and for us, the ordinary people who are victims of society, should be worthy. We should be worthy of standing up to our rights. Before we do that, we need to start learning the value of humanity. Learning the value of humanity is a cultural economy. Compared to the developmental economy. Development has gone successfully under our system. We have technology, we have engineering, which is a good thing. What has failed is our culture. I'm talking about progress. That's why there is a problem, because we no longer value humanity. We value wealth, we value environment, we value everything else. We value everything except our life. There are people who are now culturally so misled in our society. They no longer value their life. They are committing suicide. They are killing other people on the streets, in home, domestic violence, domestic abuse. The source is actually cultural failure, which we need to pay attention as ordinary citizens of the world, poor or rich. Because if we don't learn our culture today to put humanity as a priority, we put people first, we are going to be sad. We're going to be unhappy. If you visit people now on the street, people are so sad. If you visit people at home, people are so sad. The story is getting worse and worse. You're focusing on the wrong things as a priority. Focusing on wealth and development is a good thing, but it is not to be put ahead of human life. Doesn't matter whether you're from Africa, whether you're from Europe, Asia, America, we are people. We are our brothers and our sisters keepers. We are cultural people, which means we value humanity first. I've been saying this because I know when we change the way we think today, watching this video, if we change the way we think about our life, we begin to value our life. We have so many things. If you go to your home now, go to your bedroom. If you live in the developed world, especially also in Africa, go to your bedroom, go to your living room, go to the kitchen, see how much things you have. So much. We have so many things in our life, but we are unhappy. We are married with children. Our children are unhappy. We are unhappy. We are always watching television. We are watching social media. We are looking at our mobile phone more than talking to people, because our sense of valuing has changed. We need to go back to from where we started, paying attention to human value, because our happiness comes from people. It doesn't come from the money or the wealth we have. If you go to wealthy people today, they are very sad because they value money more than people. Multimillionaires and multi-billionaires are very, very sad. But poor people are also sad because their priority, they are focusing on getting wealth before getting friends. If your priority is to look for good friends and look after one another, respect one another, respect yourself, build a good relationship, you are going to be happy. Life without happiness is empty and has no meaning, is worthless. And that is why I'm laboring to talk about this. I'm looking for friends on this channel, and I have friends on this channel, and they are very precious to me. They watch my video, they leave comments. We are still a small group. I want us to grow and be more and be bigger. I want more people watching. I want more people talking together on this channel, valuing humanity first, and valuing development second. Developments like wealth, like housing, wealth like cars, like money. These are beautiful things, they are good things, but when we value it more than people, then we become sad because we destroy relationships, we neglect people, and this is happening now. Is a humanitarian crisis, featuring extra cost of living crisis. I am glad I got this out, everything. I begin to record. I make sure this message is got out first, and then I will be looking to illustrate the point, like looking at material to review from different sources. Now I'm looking at the material about South Africa, and watch this video and the rest of the videos on South Africa, because it's a continuation. And today we're going to look at the geography of South Africa. And if you have been to South Africa, leave a comment below, let me know what you think. And South Africa is in the southernmost Africa, which is actually furthest toward the south in Africa, with a coastline that stretches more than 2,500 kilometers, 1,553 miles, and along two oceans, the South Atlantic and Indian Ocean, at 1,219,912 square kilometer. That is the size in measurement, and 471,011 square miles. South Africa is the 24th largest country in the world that is big, excluding the Prince Edward islands. The country lies between latitudes 22 degree and 22 degree and 35 degrees south, and longitude 16 degrees and 33 degrees east. That is its global position. If you are trying to look for South Africa on the globe, those you actually look to those references. The interior of South Africa consists of a large, in most places, almost flat plateau with an altitude of between 1,000 meters or 3,300 feet and 2,100 meters or 6,900 feet. Highest in the east and sloping gently downward towards the west and north, and slightly so to the south and southwest. This is the description of the geographical component infrastructure, if you like to look at it that way, of South Africa. This plateau is surrounded by the Great Escarpment, whose eastern and the highest stretch is known as the Drakensberg. The Drakensberg. If you have been to South Africa, look for the Drakensberg and ask for it, which is as the height of the Mafadi in the Drakensberg at 3,450 meters or 11,320 feet is the highest peak. If you look at the highest peak, this is called Mafadi, in part of the Drakensberg mountain, then you can find it. The KwaZulu-Natal, the Lesotho international border is formed by the highest portion of the Great Escarpment, which reaches an altitude of over 3,000 meters or 9,800 feet. That is South Africa. The way it is described, this is an illustration to show how resource South Africa is and where it is in Africa in the south. And watch this video with the rest of the video for it to make sense. Is a continuation. I'm linking this information to the cost of living crisis, because the cost of living crisis is saying to us there is no wealth in the world, and that is not true. The cost of living is available, is existing because of public policy, poor government public policy, which is happening in South Africa. This evidence in this review is proof that South Africa has wealth naturally, developmentally, in all sorts of wealth. No matter how you look at it, the world is a rich place, and there is no reason with technology, engineering, and more wealth in terms of development for there to be the cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is a mistake by the government, world governments, exercising a kind of capitalism which is wrong, which is extreme, which exclude not over 90% of the population of the wealth of the world, which actually concentrate wealth to the hand of the few. And that is why I'm talking about it. The reason I'm talking about South Africa in Africa, because there is a lot of wealth there, and that is a similar story across the globe. The south and the southwestern parts of the plateau, like I said, is approximately 1,100 to 1,800 meters above sea level, and the adjoining plain below at approximately 700 to 800 meters above sea level. Sea map of on the right, if you can see it, is known as the Great Karoo, which consists of sparsely populated scrubland. This description is important to form a view of what South Africa looks like. This relatively well-watered area is home to a great proportion of the country's commercial farmlands and contains its largest conurbation, Gauteng. The north of Highveld from about the 25 degrees or 30 feet to the south line of latitude, the plateau slopes downwards into the bush belt, which ultimately gives way to the Limpopo River lowlands or low veld. This is how you look at South Africa in describing it. The country, the coastal belt are below the great encampment, moving clockwise from the northeast. It consists of the Limpopo low veld, which merges into the Mpumalanga low veld below the Mpumalanga, Drakensberg, the eastern portion of the Great Encampment. This is hotter, drier, and less intensely cultivated than the high veld above the encampment. If you're a farmer or a tourist or just somebody who enjoys nature, then this information is important for you to get the former view what South Africa may look like. This is hotter, drier, and less intensely cultivated than the high veld above the encampment. The Kruger National Park, located in the provinces of Limpopo and Mpumalanga in northeastern South Africa, occupies a large portion of the low veld, covering 19,633 square kilometers, 7,580 square miles. So South Africa, if you look at the photograph, is one of the most beautiful countries on earth. If you're interested, if you are good enough to visit South Africa, then do so. And pray that the government changes its mind so that if as a worker, as a working class, you don't suffer any longer than necessary the cost of living crisis. Otherwise, luxuries, conveniences like traveling around the world will be a problem, because the cost of living crisis and enjoying life generally is going to be a struggle, and surviving also to stay alive might be a struggle if the government do not change its policy on the public sector to bring public sector back to bring public services back, to make sure the minimum wage is raised to a level such as to get the majority of the population out of poverty, people who work for a living. And people who don't work, who may be sick, who may be retired on pension, their grants or their benefit, their money, the money given by the state as a grant, should be raised up. The credit system should be closed down, especially the credit allowing poor people to borrow money which they cannot afford to pay back should stop. These should be replaced by grants. This is a solution to the cost of living crisis. If the government listens, if it doesn't listen, when you're listening to this video, go and speak to your member of parliament. Take this video, copy of this video to your member of parliament, and let them ask their government to do what I said to be done to eliminate the cost of living crisis. Individual government like South Africa cannot do it alone. They have to be a global coalition to do it together for it to succeed. Otherwise, it is not going to work. If the foreign office go and every government should negotiate with every other government to change the way capitalism is being promoted across the globe. To also every country in the world, especially in Africa, but also in the rest of the continents of Europe, America, and Asia, to make sure capitalism is actually moderated by the public sector, which should be bigger than actually the private sector, because there are more people who are suffering poverty, and it is only the public sector which can get them out of poverty, because the private sector are actually being run by people who do not understand the value of humanity. They only think of money. They are not very good people in that sense. They are good people because they are creating wealth, but wealth which is concentrated in their hands and in the hands of their family and friends. And unfortunately, these are the minority of the population, about only 10 or 15%, who are controlling the rest of the wealth of the world, excluding the rest of the population, who are now suffering the cost of living crisis. So Places like Drakensberg, you can look at this material. They are very beautiful places. The eastern and the highest portion of the great encampment, which surrounds the east and the south and western borders of the plateau, of the central plateau. These are some of the descriptions. You better of looking at the pictures of South Africa for these things to make sense. Spring flowers in Namaqualand. It's a very beautiful day. It's a bit arid. It's a bit. Even for Africa, it's quite beautiful. I like the rest of the world, of course, but for you to see it, you shouldn't be in the cost of living, suffering the cost of living crisis, because that means your poverty is deepening. You'll be coming to terms with the fact that you're poor because you have been working for a living. You have been working so hard. Some people work 7 days a week, 3-4 jobs, and you are taxed in income tax. You are taxed in other tax like council tax, like other taxes such as poll taxes, VAT, value added tax. If you go to buy things in the shop, the cost of your product will go up because of value added tax, and all this will stop because they are enriching the people who are actually the few, the multimillionaires and the multimillionaires. Small and medium businesses are no longer benefiting because they need direct intervention by the government to strengthen their businesses. They are closing down now across the globe, and you need to really wake up to know why this is happening. That is the purpose of the video. This video may not look like it, but the information in it is critical. You need to really pay attention to this if you want your life back. If you have given up, then also watch the video anyway, because it may change your mind. You can't give up. You can't give up yourself. So the coastal belt below the south and southwestern stretches of the Great Encampment contains several ranges of Cape Fold Mountains which run parallel to the coast, separating the Great Encampment from the ocean. This is how we describe the description. These parallel ranges of Fold Mountains are shown on the map above left. You have seen the map. If you are not seeing the map, don't worry about it. They are there. Note the course of the eastern encampment to the north of these mountain ranges. The land between the Outtenkwa and Lunchburg ranges to the south, and the Swartberg range to the north is known as the Little Karoo, which consists of semi-desert shrubland similar to that of the Great Karoo, except that its northern strip along the foothills of the Swartberg mountain has a somewhat higher rainfall and is therefore more cultivated than the Great Karoo. All these information are actually sensible, more sensible if you visit South Africa. It is like a guide for you to see all these cool places. The Little Karoo is famous for its ostrich farming around Oudtshoorn. Oudtshoorn should be a place. The lowland area of the north of the Swartberg range up to the Great Encampment is the lowland part of the Great Karoo, which is climatically and botanically almost indistinguishable from the Karoo above the Great Encampment. This is more to do with physical outlook of the landscape. The narrow coastal strip between the Outtenkwa and the Lunchburg ranges and the ocean has a moderately high year-round rainfall, which is known as the Garden Route. It is famous for the most extensive area of forest in South Africa, generally a forest-poor country. In the southwest corner of the country, The Cobb Peninsula forms the southernmost tip of the coastal strip, which borders the Atlantic Ocean and ultimately terminates at the country's border with Namibia at the Orange River. The Cape Peninsula has a Mediterranean climate, making it and its immediate surrounding the only portion of sub-Saharan Africa which receives most of its rainfall in winter. The coastal belts to the north of the Cape Peninsula is bounded on the west by the Atlantic Ocean, and the first row of north-south running Cape Fold Mountains to the east. The Cape Fold Mountains peter out at about 32 degrees south line of latitude, after which the Great Escarpment bounds the coastal plain. The most southerly portion of this coastal belt is known as the Swartland and Malmesbury Plain, which is an important wheat growing region relying on winter rains. This is South Africa. This actually explains to you how wealthy South Africa is, a country which ordinarily, like the rest of Africa and the rest of the world, should not necessarily suffer anything resembling the cost of living crisis. The region further north is known as Namaqualand, which becomes more arid near the Orange River. The little rain that falls tends to fall in winter, which results in one of the world's most spectacular displays of flowers carpeting huge stretches of veldt in spring, August to September. South Africa is also one offshore possession, the small sub-Antarctic archipelago of the Prince Edward Islands, consisting of Marion Island, 290 square kilometers, or 110 square miles, and the Prince Edward Island, 45 square kilometers or 17 square miles, not to be confused with the Canadian province of the same name. We will look at the climate of South Africa. We will talk about the cost of living, linking these literary review. This material we are reviewing this material to try and illustrate the points about the cost of living crisis. This information illustrate the facts of the wealth that South Africa is, the beauty which the continent is, the shame of humanity suffering from the cost of living crisis. We have so much wealth in our midst, and it is not correct that there should be the cost of living crisis. That is the reason I'm talking about this. The other reason I'm talking about this is that this can change by the government actually changing policy on the public sector, and every government of the world should receive this information and change the way they think about society, valuing humanity first, and using the public sector to produce public service for the basic necessities to get rid of the cost of living crisis. It is a shameful situation in a world full of wealth for people to suffer the cost of living crisis. So, Köppen climate type of South Africa. Leave a comment below if you are from South Africa, if you know anything about South Africa. South Africa has a generally temperate climate because it is surrounded by the Atlantic and Indian Oceans on this side, because it is located in the climatically milder southern hemisphere, and because its average elevation rises steadily toward the north and toward the equator and further inland. This varied topography and oceanic influence result in a great variety of climatic zones. The climatic zones range from the extreme desert of the southern Namib and southern Namib in the farthest northwest of the large subtropical climate in the east along the border of Mozambique and the Indian Ocean. The winters in South Africa occurs between June and August. The extreme southwest has a climate similar to that of the Mediterranean, and with wet winters and hot, dry summers hosting the famous Fynbos biome of shrubland and thickets. This area produces such much of the wine in South Africa and is known for its wind, which blows intermittently almost all year. This is the geographical representation of South Africa. I'm doing a review of this material to link the information with the crisis of the cost of living, to identify why the cost of living crisis in every country of the world and how it can be corrected. This is important, so watch this video with the rest of the other videos. This is a continuation of the other videos, and share with family and friends. Leave a comment below. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed, and I'm grateful for those who have subscribed. I'm also grateful for those who are watching this video, who are participating, who I thank in advance people who haven't seen my video yet. When you see it, I'm grateful that you arrive. I share with family and friends. The severity of this wind made passing around the Cape of Good Hope particularly treacherous for sailors, causing many shipwrecks. Further east on the southeast and the south coast, rainfall is distributed more evenly through the year, producing a green landscape. The annual rainfall increases south of the lowland, low belts, especially near the coast, which is subtropical. The Free State is particularly flat because it lies centrally on the high plateau. North of the Vaal River, the high vales become better watered and thus not experience subtropical extremes of heat. Johannesburg, in the center of the high vales, is at 1,740 meters and 5,709 feet above sea level, and receives an annual rainfall of 760 millimeters or 29.9 inches. Winters in the region is cold, above snow, although snow is rare. The coldest place on mainland South Africa is Baffelfontein in the Eastern Cape, where a temperature of minus 20.1 degrees Celsius or minus 4.2 degrees Fahrenheit was recorded in 2013. The Prince Edward Islands pulled their average annual temperatures, but Baffelfontein has colder extremes. The deep interior of mainland South Africa has the hottest temperatures. A temperature of 51.7 degrees Celsius, 125.07 Fahrenheit was recorded in 1948 in the Northern Cape, Kalahari near Uppington, but this temperature is unofficial and was not recorded with standard equipment. The official highest temperature is 48.8 degrees Celsius, 119.84 Fahrenheit at Veals Drift in January 1993. Climate change in South Africa is leading to increased temperatures and rainfall variability. Extreme weather events are becoming more prominent. This is a critical concern for South Africans, as climate change will affect the overall status and well-being of the country, for example with regards to water resources. This description may not make much sense to many people, but it actually serves to illustrate why South Africa is naturally endowed with wealth enough, like every other continent of the world. It's the same with any other country in the world, where the cost of living crisis should not occur. So the cost of living occurring around the world, including in South Africa, is not because there is lack of wealth. If you look at the description, whether it is not well understood, it means South Africa is naturally blessed with a lot of natural resources, with wealth, with the right climate, with the right landscape, for every reason for the country to be rich. And developmentally, evidently, South Africa is one of the richest countries in not only Africa but also the globe. And so the only perhaps reason why the cost of living crisis is because of public policy failure in a country like South Africa. A point I have actually labored to repeat over and again, so that we know the reason for the cost of living, and not that we shouldn't listen to anybody else, but let us actually be clear that the cost of living crisis shouldn't occur if the public sector was functioning to provide public service. And the public sector has been closed down because of ideological and political reasons. It has nothing to do with economic logic, and this is a form of a political violence, and it should stop. It's a form of insanity. It should stop world governments, whether in South Africa or in the rest of Africa, Europe, America, and wherever you are, come together as a world, discuss nothing, discuss the extreme now contained in capitalism, and restore the public service using the public sector. Private companies are not there to provide public service. That's why it's chaos now everywhere you go, in housing, healthcare, transport, food, energy. The reason the public sector cannot be provided efficiently because the government has given this to privatize all these necessities. All these necessities should not be part of business. It should be part of private business, commercial business. It shouldn't be part of commercial business. It should be part of public business within the public sector, managed by the government, for people who need help. People who are multimillionaires and multimillionaires can buy things off the market, food, energy, because they can afford it. The rest of the world, which cannot afford it, should be supported using the public sector and the private providing private public services. And that is the most important thing I'm talking about. I'm using this literature, this material, to illustrate the same point. So let us go back to looking at the geography of of South Africa. Speedy environmental changes are resulting in clear effects on the community and environmental level in different ways and aspects, starting with air quality to temperature and weather patterns, reaching out to food security and disease burden. According to computer-generated climate modeling produced by South African National Biodiversity Institute, parts of South Africa will see an increase in temperature by about 1 degree Celsius, 1.8 degree Fahrenheit along the coast, to more than 4 degrees Celsius, 7.2 degrees Fahrenheit in the already hot hinterland, such as the Northern Cape, in late spring and summertime by 2050. We'll talk about the environment of South Africa impacting on the geography. The environment needs to be paid attention to, but it is actually not the private sector, but the public sector who should manage the environment, because the private sector cannot manage the environment, because all they think about is they think about money. And rightly so, because they are there to make money. They are not there to provide welfare, which actually the environmental protection is a form of natural welfare, which actually contribute to our health and wellness and welfare. The government should look after that by increasing the public sector. But no, the government has privatized everything. And so the environment is suffering because of privatization. The government is negligent, is not looking after the environment because it has sold off the country to private individuals who are multimillionaires, who do not care about anything except wealth and more wealth. This is wrong. This should change. We need also to revisit our culture, to put humanity first, to value humanity more than anything else, even put it before the environment. Because if we think money and wealth is more important than people, then we are actually committing suicide, even if you are poor or rich, because we are actually culturally uneducated and we are wrong. And if you want to commit suicide, you commit suicide. But if you think your life value matters, listen to what I'm saying and change the way you think. Put the life of human being first. I know this is not easy, but you need to change the way you think. That's where to start, so that you begin to view humanity differently. You have to value humanity. You have to respect humanity. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you are from Africa, whether you are from Europe, America, Asia, the same. We are humans. If we think differently, leave a comment below. Let me know what you're thinking. So we're talking about the condition of drought, which increase intensely and frequently frequency of fire and climbing temperatures are expected to push many rare species towards extinction. South Africa has published 2 national climate change reports in 2011 and 2016, nationalize the economy and give the responsibility of protecting the environment in the hands of the public and not private individuals who only think about wealth and money and nothing else. If they thought about other things, there would not be the cost of living crisis now. The cost of living is a symptom, is evidence of a problem, cultural problem, where we have stopped to think correctly, valuing everything else except humanity. South Africa contributes considerable carbon dioxide emissions, being the 4th largest emitter of carbon dioxide, primarily from its heavy reliance on coal and oil for every production. We have technology now to clean the earth, and the reason we are not using technology effectively because of negligence by the private sector who only think of money and wealth. And it is the government actually to supervise these private companies to make sure they change their mindset and begin to value life more than wealth. Some of these multimillionaires don't even care about their life anymore than their wealth. This is a perversion of humanity, of how we think, of our failure culturally, which I've been repeating over and again, and I will continue to do so. South Africa's contribution contribute considerable carbon emission, being the 14th largest emitter of carbon dioxide, primarily from its heavy reliance on coal and oil of energy production. As part of its international commitment, South Africa has pledged to peak emissions between 2020 and 2025. These promises are vague because the world is going to get worse and worse with extreme politics and perverted ideology of mindless privatization of the global economy, South Africa included. Let's look at the diversity of South Africa, the wildlife of South Africa, protected areas of South Africa, the marine biodiversity of South Africa. South Africa giraffe, Kruger National Park, the female African leopard, Thandi in the Juma concession of the Sabi Sand Game Reserve. These are some of the information, the pictures are here. This material is being reviewed to show the riches of the world and also contrast this with the incident of the cost of living crisis. South Africa signed the Rio Convention on Diversity on the 4th of June 1994 and became a party to the convention on the 2nd November 1995. It has subsequently produced a National Diversity Strategy Action Plan, which was received by the convention on 7 June 2006. The country is ranked 6th out of the world's 17 mega diverse countries. Ecotourism in South Africa has become more prevalent in recent years as a possible method of maintaining and improving biodiversity. Numerous mammals are found in the bush belt, including lions, African leopards, South African cheetahs, southern white rhinos, blue white wildebeests, kudus, impalas, hyenas, hippopotamuses, and South African giraffes. A significant extent of the bushveld exists in the northeast, including the Kruger National Park and the San Game Reserve, as well as in the far north in the Waterberg biosphere. South Africa houses many endemic species, among them the critically endangered riverine rabbit, Bunolagus monticularis in the Karoo. Up to 1945, more than 4,900 species of fungi, including lichen-forming species, had been recorded. In 2006, the number of fungi in South Africa was established at 200,000 species, but did not take into account fungi associated with insects. If correct, then the number of South African fungi dwarfs that of its plants. Everything is in South Africa. South Africa should be managed effectively by government support. South Africa, like the rest of Africa and the globe, should stop the excesses found in the modern capitalistic economy by renationalizing what is needed for nationalization and the provision of public service, including the environmental protection policy and processes, which should never ever be left to the private sector. The private sector are good at making money for themselves. That is what they do. They don't know the value of anything else beyond money. I'm not saying that's a good thing even for private individuals who are entrepreneurs, who are part of the human family of the world. They need to be educated culturally to value their lives and the life of people around them more than their wealth. This is a simple message. Change the way you think to bring peace. The cost of living crisis is a form of violence. And if we allow such a thing to do, everything we do, every effort we make is futile. Because we are culturally uneducated, we are extremely backward as a species. A threat to our life, a threat to the life of the universe, if you think so. So let us look at this information on South Africa. With more than 22,000 different vascular plants, or about 9% of all known species of plants on Earth, South Africa is particularly rich in plant diversity, which is good news. For South Africa, good news for the world. The most prevalent biome is the grassland, particularly on the high veld, where the plant cover is dominated by different grasses, low shrub, and acacia, mainly camel thorn, Bachelia areoloba. Vegetation is sparse towards the northwest because of low rainfall. There are numerous species of water-storing succulents like aloes and euphorbias in the very hot and dry Namaqualand area. There are numerous species of water-storing succulents like aloes and euphorbias in the very hot and dry Namaqualand area. And according to the Wildlife Fund, South Africa is home to around a third of all succulent species. The grass and thorn savanna turns slowly into a bush savanna toward the northeast of the country with denser growth. There are significant numbers of baobab trees in this area near the northern end of Kruger National Park. The fynbos biome, which makes up the majority of the area and plant life in the Cape floristic region, is located in a small region of the Western Cape and contains more than 9,000 of those species, or 3 times more plants species than found in the Amazon rainforest, making it among the richest regions on earth in terms of plant diversity. Following what I said about South Africa and Africa in general, full of wealth and natural splendor and wonders, which actually brings back the point about the cost of living crisis, which is the subject of this conversation. This material is to portray the world as being full of wealth, and therefore the only reason we are in a crisis of the cost of living, which actually evidence of poverty among the many, is that the system of capitalism has deliberately taken wealth away from the many and giving it and concentrated it into the hands of the few. This should be reversed by government bringing back the public sector to regulate wealth and make sure the majority of the population around the world, including in South Africa, they are taken out of poverty. And if they were taken out of poverty and they haven't been taken out of poverty, it doesn't matter how hard they were, the cost of living crisis wouldn't exist. The cost of living is a symptom of a deeper problem within the economic system, within the government negligence globally, including in South Africa and the continent of Africa and the rest of the continent of the world. This has to stop. We need to learn culture, which is valuing humanity first, and then valuing politics, power, and wealth next. If we reverse our priority, we are going to do well to bring peace. If we pervert our priority and value power and wealth and politics more over and above humanity, then we will continue to have factors such as the cost of living crisis, which is a sign that peace is not going to happen. And that's why I'm talking about it, because this is our life. While South Africa has a great wealth of flowering plants, only 1% of the land is forest, almost exclusively in the humid coastal plain of KwaZulu-Natal, where there are also areas of southern Africa mangroves in river mouths. Even smaller reserves of forests are out of reach of fire, known as the montane forest. Plantations of imported tree species are predominant, particularly the non-native eucalyptus and pine. You look at Cape Floral region protected areas. South Africa has lost a large area of natural habitat in the last 4 decades, primarily because of overpopulation, prowling, development patterns, and deforestation during the 19th century. Anybody talking about overpopulation is mistaken. They are ignorant, they are poorly educated, because the concentrating of the population in towns and town centers and cities is the problem. There are empty lands in the countryside, and the government should take over running the basic essential, the welfare of the people, to actually spread out developments around in the countryside. The poor are being dispossessed of land. The government has taken land away from the poor people and given it to the super rich, who own this land. This land remains empty. There is nothing to prevent them from maintaining the ecosystem and the health of the environment. if they wanted to. The problem with these rich people, they don't care about anything except money. They are culturally bankrupt. They are totally uneducated and actually irrelevant in terms of humanity. So let them make their money, let the government continue to make a fool of themselves. But I say to the government of the world to change policy, to try and actually bring sense into society by actually learning the value of people. And actually the land being hoarded by multimillionaires and multimillionaires should be distributed to poor people to settle in, so that people don't concentrate in towns and cities. How much do you think humans consume? They don't. They only need food, water, and shelter. That is not going to affect the environment. The argument of overpopulation is false, and it is also rude and ignorant and based on false reports. We should change if we want peace. Then, if not, then there will be no peace for the wicked. As it is now happening with the cost of living crisis. And so let's carry on with reviewing this material. The country had a 2019 Forest Landscape Integrity Index mean score of 4.94 per 10, ranking in 112 globally out of 172 countries. South Africa is one of the worst affected countries in the world when it comes to invasion by alien species, with many examples: black wattle of Port Jackson willow, Acacia lantana, and Jacaranda, posing a significant threat to the native biodiversity and the already scarce water resources. Technology engineering should be now focusing on producing water from the ocean to irrigate arid ground. If we are doing peace, if we were actually running our countries and continent effectively, we should be achieving this with the amount of technology we have. The original temperate forest found by the first European settlers was exploited until only small patches remained. Currently, South African hardwood trees like real yellowwood, podocarpus, latifolias, stinkwood, Ocotea volata, and South African black ironwood, Olea capensis, are under strict government protection. Statistics from the Department of Environmental Affairs show a record 1,215 rhinos were killed in 2014. Since South Africa is home to a third of all succulent species, many endemic to the Karoo, it makes it a hotspot for plant poaching, leading to many species to be threatened with extinction. Next time, we're going to continue on the discourse around South Africa, reviewing this material and linking this material to the cost of living crisis in South Africa, and also to show that what happened in South Africa because of globalization and capitalism is happening across the globe. And we have said that capitalism, an extreme version, is responsible for the cost of living crisis, and the governments of the world should intervene to actually ameliorate all these problems, to control them, and also to get the majority of the population out of poverty. If this was done and it wasn't done, and it isn't being done, poverty would not be there, and the cost of living crisis would not be there anywhere in the world. And this is the point about this program. And thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing with friends and family. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for clicking notification bell. See you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.